But like as a black person, to me it feels like a microaggression.
I'm very sexy, and I am 100% glorifying obesity.
And the ultra rich whip it out and take a piss on everyone else.
Hey guys, I'm Brad Polumbo, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to my series, Brad vs. TikTok, where I take on the craziest ideas that are going viral on the Clock app. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, or maybe even subscribe if you like this video. But now, buckle up and try not to lose too many brain cells with me.
In the front. Yeah.
I love, how are you?
See, how are you? She came in with pretty curls, now she came
Can
out
you
with...
please not talk about when I switch up my hair?
I think it's beautiful.
I know, but like as a black person, to me it feels like a microaggression. I deal with it all the time at work, and you can make that face.
I do the same thing.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm telling you how it makes me feel. Everyone's different, but personally, if you like the hair, pretty hair. You don't have to like clarify that it was different each and every time, because it makes me uncomfortable.
I just like the way you change.
I know this. I'm not looking for any excuses. It's just, it makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I found this video relatable because it's also my go-to move when somebody compliments me and tries to be friendly, to bully them and record them and try to publicly shame them. This really is just such gross behavior. I mean, she's just trying to be nice. Holy shit. Are y'all really this desperate on TikTok to be victims? In fact, the entire concept of a microaggression is absurd, and it's even offensive to victims of real bigotry. It diminishes their experiences by conflating the real harm done to them with minor verbal inconveniences. And it suggests that minorities are somehow extra fragile and need to be treated with kid gloves, when for most people, that is absolutely not the case. And you know this TikToker wasn't approaching this in good faith, because she recorded it. She walked in there with her camera rolling, looking to try to get this woman on the spot and get her in trouble or canceled or make herself look like a sympathetic victim, the struggles of a black woman in 2023 of having to be complimented. If she didn't like her hair being commented on, if she didn't want comments on her appearance, even though this woman clearly meant well, that's totally valid. But she could have just spoke with this woman without recording and just said, hey, I'd appreciate it if you didn't comment on my hair. It makes me self-conscious, whatever. And I'm sure this woman would have obliged her. But no, she wanted to be a victim. She wanted to exploit this fake oppression for TikTok clout. And that's why this video really sums up what's so toxic about the supposed social justice movement today. Some of these folks are now so desperate to paint themselves as victims for internet clout that they literally resort to bullying and publicly shaming random people who are just trying to be nice. Up next, did you know rioting is good, actually?
Actually, pro tip, when dealing with the unjustifiable execution of a person by state-sanctioned forces, property damage is negligible. Hot take, I guess, but the rights of human beings to ask the state to not senselessly slaughter them trumps the rights of, property. And I hate the idea that if protesters would just change their behavior, they would be met with less brutality from the police, because it is simply untrue. People aren't protesting for no reason. They're protesting because they live in a brutal and violent system. And if your protest is so pacifist that that system is able to just ignore it and keep on doing what it's doing, you are not effective. I don't know how anyone lived through BLM in 2020 and didn't come away with the realization that authorities will always placate you, because if you're asking for cessation of violence, that is directly anti the system. It doesn't matter how you ask, because what you're asking for is inherently radical.
I, for one, don't know how anyone lived through the BLM movement in 2020 and still concludes that the consequences of violent rioting are somehow negligible, or that this tactic works to promote a movement. And I say this all as somebody who's an outspoken critic of police brutality and a proponent of criminal justice reform. But the idea that property damage is negligible is absurd. A record-breaking more than $1 billion in property damage was done during the 2020 riots, and that's not negligible to the people whose businesses were destroyed. Countless uninsured business owners had their dreams and livelihoods ruined, their ability to provide for their family taken away. They were victimized, even though they had nothing to do with the death of George Floyd or the death of anybody at the hands of police. And even the business owners who had insurance still had their business sidelined for months on end, and had their rates skyrocket, their insurance rates go up when this kind of thing happens. So again, you're harming innocent people. But also, property destruction almost always bleeds over into actual human violence. And unsurprisingly, 25 people lost their lives during the George Floyd riots in 2020. Is that a negligible cost, too? Oh, and all the rioting actually sabotaged public support for the Black Lives Matter cause. Other than that, though, TikTok, you got this one spot on.
Whenever a capitalist brings up trickle-down economics as a viable solution to our current paradigm, remind them that it's actually tinkle-down economics, wherein the ultra-rich whip it out and take a piss on everyone else.
So this scenario will basically never happen because trickle-down economics isn't a thing. It's a straw man invented by the left. It's really not something that almost any proponents of free market capitalism have ever actually articulated or believe in. We don't believe that tax cuts for the rich just magically make the whole world better. We do believe that leaving people free to work, trade, invest, and earn with only minimal taxes to fund basic public necessities like the police, like roads, like courts, like the military, and only minimal regulation to prevent businesses or other people from violating the rights of others. And when we have that robust economic freedom, it leads to prosperity for all. And that's been borne out time and time again in history. But keep beating the shit out of that straw man, I guess. Up next, did you know that homelessness could just be easily solved?
America has more empty houses than it does homeless people. Any economic system that produces these kind of conditions is a failed economic system. Take the empty houses and allow the homeless people to live in them. It may upset the landlords, but I do not care.
Wow, guys, isn't it so great that all these complex societal problems like homelessness that we have spent years trying to solve, have thrown billions of tax dollars at, could all just be so simply solved if we just took the advice of a Twitter socialist? No, look, this is a very naive view of a very complex problem. Even if you were to magically grant every homeless person a house, it would not actually solve the root cause of this issue. Unfortunately, tragically, many homeless people in America struggle with either severe mental illness or severe substance abuse problems, or both. Putting them in a free house magically confiscated by the government and redistributed to them wouldn't actually solve the problem, which is their inability to currently function in society and in the workforce. They most likely wouldn't be able to pay the taxes or the insurance or the utilities on that house, and so it'd only be a matter of time before they were homeless again. The problem is a lot deeper than just not having houses. In LA, for example, the Los Angeles Times found that 76% of individuals living outside on the streets reported being, or were observed to be, affected by mental illness, substance abuse, poor health, or a physical disability. Those are the real issues, and there's not an easy solution to them. This entire narrative also uses some very faulty numbers. They talk about millions of vacant houses, and technically there are millions of vacant houses. But millions of these houses are abandoned or in disrepair. Many others are only temporarily vacant because they're seasonally occupied or they're vacation homes. And most importantly, almost none of these houses are located in the urban centers where almost all of the homelessness is. The fact that there are empty, vacant vacation homes deep in rural New England doesn't help you address the fact that there are so many homeless people on the streets of LA. Regardless, you couldn't just seize people's houses. There's that whole pesky Constitution thing that prohibits the government from forcibly confiscating people's property without just compensation. And we've already seen urban governments throw billions and billions of tax dollars at this problem to no avail. So just confiscating and redistributing more resources isn't going to solve this problem. And I don't have all the answers to it, but I do know that simplistic socialist demagoguery isn't helping. Up next, some good old-fashioned TikTok elitism.
Sempre bacalhau da mano dele.
So I actually kind of agree with the first part in that it's just my personal preference, but I do prefer it when people don't plaster their political beliefs all over their clothes or their decorations or their yards. And yeah, I find it confrontational in that it kind of puts up divides between people. But it's very weird to suggest that that's something only conservatives or Republicans do. Some liberals do that too. I mean, have you never walked by a house and seen all the cringe Black Lives Matter, science is real, hate has no home signs in the yard? I mean, come on. And the rest of this video is really just grotesque elitism. The idea that right of center Americans don't read books, or even that if you think you're better than other people because you read more than them, all of that is nonsense. And congratulations, you have college degrees from the University of Connecticut. Again, that doesn't make you better or smarter than anyone. It's just such a reductive view of the world, this idea that the people who disagree with you, it couldn't be that we face complex societal debates and problems and that people of good faith have different starting principles and might reach polar opposite conclusions on them. No, it must be that all the people who disagree with you are just stupid, uneducated rubes. What a childish view of the world. I hope for your sake that you and the millions of people who see this kind of stuff on TikTok wake up and realize that the world is not the black and white place you think it is. Up next, some TikTokers are openly glorifying obesity, and they're not shy about it.
Just a reminder that I am very fat and very sexy, and I am 100% glorifying obesity, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So, yikes. This video, it just honestly makes me sad. I personally do not find her particularly sexy, although being gay doesn't help with that. But I am glad she's confident in her own appearance, I guess. I mean, I don't support body shaming anyone or bullying people based on how they look. At the same time, glorifying obesity or pretending that it's healthy or attractive to be as overweight as she is an incredibly dangerous and toxic approach. I mean, obesity is second only to cigarette smoking as a leading preventable death in the US. Nearly 1 in 5 deaths of African Americans and Caucasians aged 40 to 85 is attributed to obesity, a rate that is increasing across generations. We have an obesity crisis in this country where people are slowly killing themselves through unhealthy habits, through unhealthy eating, through lack of exercise, and they end up looking like this and then having severe health issues that sometimes take their lives far, far too early. Why would anyone want to glorify or celebrate that? That's not just having self-confidence or being anti-bullying, it's being anti-science and participating in a death cult. I mean, imagine the opposite extreme. Imagine somebody with anorexia who's incredibly thin, who got up on TikTok and said, I am 100% glorifying anorexia. Would anyone agree with that? Would anyone go, yes, queen, and clap like a seal? No, they wouldn't. They'd see it as deeply harmful, and they'd see that person as somebody who's hurting and who's trying to project outwards so that they don't have to look inwards and find what's wrong. They'd want to help that person, but they would not be uncritically parroting, accepting, or celebrating their anti-science, anti-health, anti-human perspective. This isn't any different. It's just the opposite extreme that has somehow become more politically correct to celebrate and perpetuate. I, for one, want nothing to do with this narrative and its toxic impact it's having on this country. All right, in the last one, did you know that if you've ever criticized woke extremism, you're just a racist?
I can't be the only one who just realized that when they say woke, they're interchanging that for black. What? How did I not hear it before? How did I not realize that's what they were saying this whole time?
Maybe you didn't realize it before because it's absolutely not what we're saying. When I talk about woke people or I complain about woke ideology, In fact, what I have in mind is very much not a black person typically. It's typically a non-binary they, them with pink hair who is white. Now, I do think people on the right, and honestly I'll include myself in this criticism, sometimes overuse the word woke or apply it to situations where it really isn't applicable. But for me, it just refers to any unhinged, identity-obsessed, extreme progressive worldview on cultural or social issues. It has nothing to do with blackness, and to me it's very telling that folks like this aren't actually interested in countering our arguments about woke ideology, but instead are just trying to shut them down by crying racism and trying to stop the conversation from even happening. It's almost like they're not prepared to debate or defend their ideas on their merits. Alright guys, that's all the TikTok I can handle in one day without suffering permanent brain damage. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like, commenting, subscribing, or yada yada yada, and I'll see you all next time.